Asante sana.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday was a very sad day in this country. Sad because the Speaker, as a House, we had to take extraordinary measures to send a message to this country that the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is under siege. Under siege, Mr. Speaker, from the executive in relation to disbursement of funds that are owed to members and to this House. Mr. Speaker, we have to make this point very clear, that what the senators are asking for, they are not asking for a penny additional to what they are entitled to. The senators, and indeed Parliament, is not seeking a salary increment for members or for staff. So, Speaker, the only thing that we are saying is that we have offices that we run in our counties. And we run those offices, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of the people that have elected us to represent them in this House. In the running of those offices, Mr. Speaker, of course, there will be operational expenses, which expenses are supposed to be met by disbursements from the Exchequer. This is the third month, Mr. Speaker, since any office of any senator received a penny for operations. And yet, Mr. Speaker, as is expected of us, we have made contracts, binding contracts with service providers for basic things like transport, basic things like even water for the office. These people have kept the side of their bargain, but we are unable to pay them. Mr. Speaker, all we are saying is that enough is enough. We will not mince our words, Mr. Speaker. The executive is operating. Members of the executive are going about their business, their constitutional business, funded by the Exchequer. But this arm of government called Parliament and the judiciary, we are suffering and will not suffer anymore. Mr. Speaker, to add injury to insult, I saw a principal secretary posturing as though he is the senior to the Speaker of the Senate and pretending that he can lecture the Speaker of the Senate on matters diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon the Senate Standing Committee responsible for matters to deal with foreign affairs, chaired by Senator Cheptumo, not to go and hide in a meeting with that PS, but to bring it to the floor of this House, so we may question him and put him where he belongs. And as you do that, Mr. Speaker, as the committee prepares to do that, I want to join my colleagues in saying shame on the PS. The Speaker, I mean, if the Speaker of the Senate cannot receive a delegation from a foreign country, then what is the business of this House? The Speaker, you know, some things can really hurt leaders. The leader of Somaliland, on record, says that he wants to tighten the relationship between his country and our country. He goes on record, Mr. Speaker, and says that they are consuming a lot of farm produce from our country. For the information of the PS, the Speaker, agriculture is a devolved function. And there is no other place that any foreign dignitary can address matters agriculture better than in the Senate. So instead of the PS, this junior officer, instead of the Speaker, this junior officer coming to the Senate to learn a thing or two about diplomacy, he thinks that he can talk to us about diplomacy from a position of information. Once again, I say, shame on him. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we are not going to step down in demanding for what is our right. Mr. Speaker, I would want to call upon my colleagues as a leader in this House. Mr. Speaker, there's a saying, and it should not be taken literally, there's a saying that goes that if you set out to kill the king must die. Mr. Speaker, we have already demonstrated that we are not happy with the way the disbursements to this Senate are being done. We cannot, Mr. Speaker, and we should not lower the bar. In fact, what you do is to up the bar in that demand. We must hold those people responsible. We must hold their legs on fire until something gives. And Mr. Speaker, I will conclude by saying that going forward, I wish as senators we can demonstrate to this country this level of bipartisanship, not just on matters that affect us, but especially on matters that affect our people. This country, this executive, has taken people for granted for far too long. Enough is enough. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in demanding that the Senate be accorded the resources that is due to it for it to be able to conduct its operations and make sure we are able to perform our functions. Honorable Speaker, I think there is a very serious problem in the national treasury of this country. The national treasury of this country behaves as if it is the treasury of the executive of this country. I think it is time we come up with an independent